So today is the 9th of July 2017, and I wanted to show you how you can use this bug detector to actually find chips on your head. So you can see already as I'm approaching, I know that there's a chip here. Can you see how it's, you know, setting off? And then you can see it flickering down, and then on the side somewhere I've got another chip there. Hang on. There, can you see? And it's only roughly there. There's a chip. It's not there. It's there. Not there. 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 Right? It's not there. I can go back. Here. On the side. There. And there's a sore point on my scalp. That's the chip. Hang on. I can slowly find it. There. There. So I have to get the angle right because the antenna needs to, you know, get the emissions from the chip. But as I'm scanning, this thing disappears. There's a second one there. Actually, I think that's going towards a really big one here on my scalp somewhere. Hang on, where was it? There. There. So this thing locks onto the frequency, so I have to take it away so that the signal disappears, because otherwise it will try to lock on, but it will start beeping when it's close, you know. So as I'm waving this about, it picks up emissions from the chips and it tries to lock onto the last frequency, but only when I place it does it start beeping. Okay? Yes? It's trying to lock on, but it's only when you're right above does that actually set off the alarm. So, hang on. The problem with this is that it has an internal algorithm that tries to find the frequency, you know, and once it has, you're above a spot and you leave the alarm running, and tries to connect it. So if I point it back, it will trying to find it again. There. But when I take it away, it disappears. And the alarm comes there. Taking it away. Where is it? You can see it's there. It's not there. It's there. Not there. There's another one. Here. Not there. Here. Not there. Here. Yes. Not here. Not here. Okay, so you can do it like a couple of dozen times, and you see how many chips you're on. Everywhere where there's a chip, there's a sore point on my head. And you know, at first you might have these things on your head and you might think, oh, that's maybe a spot or something, but actually it's a chip. And the tissue gets inflamed because it keeps being triggered. Like, hang on. Oh, you can see, you know. So again, you have to neutralize this thing, because if you stay, it locks onto the frequency. And that's because the range it's measuring at, it's 1 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, okay? So in this broad range, as soon as it detects a frequency intensely, because it's a bug finder, it locks on. So when you let the alarm ring for a long time, it really locks on the frequency. And then it will start detecting it as this thing is emitting. But as you can see, you know, oh, now it locked on. So that's the problem. And you have to, because I'm using it again, so you have to switch it off and then restart the scan. Okay, so, and then you draw it, that's full intensity, and then you draw it, put it down so that you can just about, oops, sorry, it just about disappears, and then you can start finding this again. Now, what you can do is you either turn it on so that it shows a little bit of background, but then you don't know what it locked onto. But then you have to be careful, because if it's too turned down, you know, you have to kind of play with the dial so that you turn it down below it, you know, the signal, and then you try finding it again. So hang on, where was the chip? And it's a bit of trial and error, because this thing is also scanning in terms of frequencies, and at first it doesn't know in what frequency band are you looking for emissions. So you have to wait for your chips to emit. You have to make sure that the intensity is not turned down, because here at the top you don't, oops, sorry, that's maximum, and then you turn it down just below the level so that it's sensitive, okay? And then you can see that at some point there's a chip. There's the chip, you can see it now. There's the chip, and there's the chip, yeah? Here. And if I leave it too long, it starts locking on. There's a chip, and it's always flashing up in the same places. Now, it has to be, typically it's symmetric, so, you know, but today they're working on this side, so it seems like those chips aren't up, but there's one, yes? Can you see there's none here? There's one there. Let's scan the back. Ah, there's one in the back of my neck that Melanie found here. Yes, there. So I've got nothing else behind me. Yes, I'm just scanning the back of my head. There's nothing here. I can get up and you can see there's nothing behind. So what I'm scanning here are the chips on the back of my head. There. Boom, big one, right? Can you see that? There. Oof, it's right at the back of my head. Also saw point and a dent there. Not a dent, a hump there. That's pretty intense, right? So this is right, this is not as intense. But here, can you see the intensity? There, 3 bars. There, and that is here, the back of my head, like there. There's a bump somewhere there, yes. Here. Can you see that? Sorry, I have to see the video to actually see when it goes to maximum. And here the angle matters, yes, because these emissions are these radiation, the waves are emitted sometimes in a plane, I think, and the antenna has to align. So you have to find the chip, and you have to rotate it around to find the maximum, yes. So, hang on. You can see it goes down, and then it comes up 2 bars, and at some point I got it to show 3 bars with a bit of skill. But you can see it's there, and then when you scan elsewhere on your body, you don't have that intensity chip. Okay, so you can scan here, no signal. Okay, again, you have to scan every part of your body and kind of rotate the antenna. Ooh, that's my ear chip here, there. You see? There. Yeah, so now it's this one. But at the back, it's absolutely massive. 3 bars, there you go. Okay, so I'm measuring here, roughly. Sorry, I moved away again, and this antenna is quite sensitive. But it's, hang on, try it again. Okay. It's there. It's there, but the angle has to be right. So it's kind of hard to do it on your own. Someone else doing it for you helps. But this kind of shows that you have likely several chips around your head, and I can go back to the first ones. They should still be emitting there, yes, and then the really big one at the back, you saw the 2 bars, that's there, but the little one is, ow. So the actual skin is quite inflamed actually, so it's not, you just feel sore points on your skull, and that's what the chips are in my case. There, can you see? It just flickers up. Hang on. There's the chip. There. Yes, and then the really big one at the back. There. 2 bars. Okay, and then I've got something down in my neck, which I might be able to find with a bit of skill. So you can see this, the signal disappeared. You saw, there. Can you see it? There. 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 I am pointing at the back of my head. I'm not sure if you can see. I am... Come on. There. There, can you see? So you can kind of guess where I'm pointing here. I'm stabbing myself in the back of the neck at the point where it's emitting. So there's the chip. So when I was... There. Okay, now it's emitting, and here's the big one. Good God. I mean, you know, it's a monkey business doing this, but you can find it there. There. Yes? Okay, so that's it. And, you know, also remember that this thing might be locking on, but there we are. So that's how you can find chips on your head. And you know, might have them in your ears as well. So there we are. So just to recap, what you have to do, okay, to use this particular device, I'm just explaining. I am using the Atseco FC6002 MK2. Okay, that's a 1 megahertz to 6 gigahertz RF tracer. Okay, this is a bug finder. And because the frequency range is very broad, 1 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, so 1 million beats per second to 6 billion beats per second. Okay, it's large numbers, but it's also a huge difference, a huge frequency range. And because of the frequency range being so big, and you don't know where the bugs are, at what frequency they are emitting, this thing, when it finds a strong signal, it will lock on. It's so, instead of scanning the entire window, and I think there might be an internal scanning algorithm, so, you know, it scans the entire range, which is why sometimes takes time for it to find a certain bug. So you hold it above your head, and it takes a while to actually pick up a signal, okay? So if you don't see anything, you just go, whoa, yeah, I don't have anything. That's not how it works, okay? This thing needs to scan the full range, and then when it finds a strong signal, it will lock on. And the idea is that it starts beeping, and then you hone in on where exactly it is, as if you were finding a bug in a room, okay? And then you hone in where exactly it is by looking at the intensity of the signal. Now, body chips, not being actual bugs like they are used, you know, they're kind of bugs for surveillance, but not the same kind. And because they're behind tissue, the signal is very weak sometimes. Sometimes it's really massive, like on the back of my head. You know, when they turn it on, that's just like, you know, I think I've got a little mobile phone tower implanted on the back of my head. But some chips are very weak. You know, sometimes people have very strong chips in their ears. So Melanie's chip, and I think her, that was her right ear, is extremely strong, she said. Okay, and you could see that because this thing was just going nuts. And sometimes chips are switched off, so they are not communicating, it seems. So sometimes you really have to wait for minutes, you know, a couple of minutes for it to turn on. So these are the things you have to watch out for. Number one, the frequency range is very broad. And then the other thing is when it finds something, it locks on. So if you leave it to lock on for too long, it will really hone in on that instead of scanning. And then when you take it away, you think your measurements are being invalidated because this thing starts going, you know, nuts, or it starts vibrating wherever you point, and then you think, oh, this is ambient. No, it's not ambient. And you can measure it with other things that don't, you know, have this locking on mechanism like this one, you know, and then you just hear everything, the entire background. So, you know, then you can check that it's not ambient by just, you know, leaving the room and coming back and showing how this signal is changing. So you can do it much fancier than that. But when you found the chip, you can just move it about a bit, and you can show that the chips will appear in exactly the same places. So on my head, it's kind of like here, there's something at the back, there's a really painful thing at the back, you know, and in those points, there's a chip injected under your skin. Okay, and that's emitting non-stop. And if it feels sore, it's because the tissue gets inflamed. It can't handle being continually irradiated, as the chip is broadcasting and is receiving signals. Okay, so these little chips are actually, you know, tumor generating devices, because your tissue is not, you know, it's not built to have a little antenna under the skin and be the membrane between, you know, a little mobile phone tower. So anyway, that's how you find it, and that's how you can see. And you can also see the intensity difference between chips. So the chip I had on the side of my head was kind of weak, but at the back it was 3 bars. Okay, I'll try to keep this video short. That kind of proves I've got chips on my head. You can find this bug detector, costs me I think 150 or 160 euros or something like that. So you can also check with that. I am sitting in my aluminium office, by the way, just to show you all of the electrical devices. So this thing doesn't have Wi-Fi. Oops, sorry. This thing, hang on, let me just show you. I'm minimizing the window so that you can see here. Oh, this thing has Ethernet connection. Okay, that's this symbol. That one. can you see this one? Okay, no Wi-Fi. I can show you that it's not emitting. Enable Wi-Fi, so Wi-Fi is not enabled. Okay, so this computer here is off. Yes, it's totally off. That computer is off. This device is off. That device is off. That was my head protection. My MP3 player is off. That thing is off. You know, I have all these measuring devices, but they're all off. And this audio recorder is also off. So there's nothing in here, you know. That's me just sitting totally surrounded. And then I've got my bookcases here with my case folders, you know, somewhere there, but there's no electronics. So everything else, there's a scanner here, which is also off, you know, this thing is just off. Okay, so there's nothing else in here that emits, and that thing is a Geiger counter. All right, so nothing around me is emitting anything, you know. I sit fairly shielded in my office, and yet you saw these things. So these are the chips emitting on my head. So that's it. These are the chips on the head. I hope it helps. I'm Dr. Katherine Hortons, and today is the 9th of July 2017, and I'm reporting from Zurich.